Welcome back to What the Flag. We're so excited you guys are continuing to join us on this incredible journey. For those that are watching the video, you see we got some cool cleats on the table.
Oh, shout, altered kicks. Yes, sir. Does them. We on the how many episodes ago now? We had Black Panther on there. Wolverine. He does amazing work. But cool, dude. We can get your cleats customized. Holla.
But you know, a nice little change of scenery and kind of thinking globally, because that's on my mind right now. Because Deanna Flores and I have just announced our flag football camp that is taking place this summer. Amazing. So absolutely excited. We're going to do 4 different locations. So it's our global tour. We're going to do the UK, Italy, Spain, and Switzerland. And we're going to do girls camps. We're going to do youth camps. But it's all about the women. So it's going to be terrific. I mean, this is going to be huge. We're going to take you guys down for sure. I know you're going to come to a few different camps, all of them, really. But the UK one, this could be your first, real in-person flag football camp.
I can show them my amazing one.
Yaz is demoing how to do the different first, second, thurd, fourth down.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of it.
There you go.
Exactly. We're going to get a lot of super cool people down. We've got, I just met the other day from Tottenham, the England captain. Beth's going to come down, and then we've asked Hannah Frankson from Peloton to come.
As you do.
You. So we're going to get everybody down there. Look,
I'm listening with the stars,
I
guys.
know.
I'm listening with the stars.
It's all these awesome people coming together for girls and flags. So, and the fact that we're going to do it globally is going to be so phenomenal.
What's it called? What are you calling it?
We rise.
We rise.
Because we're, all rising together.
Nice.
And I think
It'll be good.
Yeah,
It'll be good.
it's going to be really cool. And obviously Deanna speaks Spanish, so hopefully she can take care of all of our language situations.
You know who else speaks Spanish?
What, you and Duolingo, yeah?
Listen.
Go on.
Shout out Duolingo.
10 seconds Spanish with Kenny. Let's go.
Literally.
Teach them some words.
Hola. ¿Cómo estás? Me llamo Coach Kenny.
Yes.
That's it.
You smash it, to be fair. Wait. And then if someone gives you something, what do you say? You got one more word in you. If someone says...
Si.
You gotta say gracias.
Oh.
If someone gives you something, you gotta say
like, thank you.
Gracias. Sí. Mi bien. Claro. Vale. Sí. No. Pressure.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's what's hard. You do Duolingo, you want to learn all these cool languages, sport brings you everywhere. And then you actually talk to people in their language, and it's so fast.
It's so quick. And then they use their own sort of version of slang. And then all of a sudden you're like, Duolingo didn't teach me. This is not
tell me.
Exactly. You're like, I wear a red blouse.
Yeah.
That is what I can tell you.
Yeah, literally. The cathedral is on the left.
Not the right side. No. I think football transcends languages, though. It's its own language, and that makes it easier. So, no, I think the global camp is going to be really... Any plans to go, if I'm being cheeky here, but outside of Europe, you got where it's going to go?
This is year one, buddy. We want to do everything. We want to make sure that everybody has equal opportunity to the sport, to coaching, because actually that's what I want to talk to you guys about today was kind of that leadership coaching side of things, because I know, we've hit on a little bit in the past, coaching in flag is not non-existent, but it's something that's really only just started. I think
very new.
It's very new because as the sport is growing and really going from being kind of just a recreational sport to now being something that's going to be played in the Olympics. Well, now there's this big realization that actually, how are we going to get better? We need to have coaches. I mean, and I know in the tackle game, we've seen so much of it where some teams just don't have enough coaches, so the players are having to step up in those moments. But then where do you learn? I guess I go back to it. Who would you say best coach, best leader that you guys have been around? If you have one off the top of your head.
You first.
No. Go on, Yaz. You first.
Best coaches leave up. I mean, there'll be 2. Well, no, there could be more.
That's okay.
But I think caveat. There's no disrespect because you're not going to be able to. There's lots of good people, good leaders around the sport. So it's not. I think in naming individuals now, it's not saying that anyone you don't name isn't a good leader.
Yeah, love you all.
Get that out there.
I mean, when you said it, the first person that came to mind would have been Uncle Wayne.
Uncle Wayne.
Yes.
You know, at GB Coach Hill. But Uncle Wayne, probably, because I think he really has the balance between being authoritative and making you do what you need to do, but he's also such a role model and father figure. He really has that divide, nailed in terms of when he's your coach and when he's there for advice and solace and, supporting you through your journey, and but not just supporting sort of the players, like just the role he played sort of among the coaching staff at GB, when he was with us at Worlds, through the European Championships, and his willingness to always be a person to step up and always, take the pressure off others or find a way around something. I think he was amazing to work, alongside. He was a fabulous coach. Everyone wants Uncle Wayne to be their coach. And for those of you wondering why he got the name Uncle Wayne, it was because we were waiting in the lobby to go to our game, and we were playing music on the speaker, and then we put Cameo Candy on.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden he was standing there, he was doing this, and I was like, oh, you don't know that. He was like, what do you mean? And then he stood right in the middle, right on cue, and did the whole electric slide. So that's how I got the Uncle Wayne, because he's one of the family. So there you go. He got to come to the cookout.
Deeply ironic that they think they called him Uncle Wayne first, and I'm like,
we did.
Uncle Wayne's been Uncle Wayne for a long time. I
think we coined it, and you guys
took it. Uncle Wayne.
Yeah, Uncle Wayne.
Exactly.
No, but honestly, I think Wayne Hill, he is definitely one of the biggest things that he's about is leaving the game in a better position than he found it. And that's, to be fair to him, he's come across to the flag side a bit more and more now. He's definitely been tackled through and through, but just someone who truly embodies that, and the amount of time he gives, the effort, the thought, the care, I think it definitely embodies everything as a leader. Is there, so Phoebe, you've done several talks on leadership, and I know one of the things that I really enjoy when you do your talks is the different leadership styles that you've come across. So I don't know if you want to share some of those and kind of how different leaders have impacted you.
Yeah, I think that ultimately there's no one size fits all when it comes to leadership. Everyone leads in their own different ways. The three of us have all been captains in different capacities, different sports, and how all three of us lead will be very different from one another. And so I think ultimately, you've got like an Uncle Wayne who kind of brings that energy. He's vivacious. Like you see him running up and down the sidelines. Then you might have a leader who's more observant and kind of steps back and just keeps an eye on things. Or maybe it's somebody that just has those one-on-one conversations with you on the side. I think there's an interesting kind of crossover between leadership and mentorship. And I would definitely recommend to anybody out there, if you don't have a mentor, find a mentor, because they just help you so much on your journey, and they let you see things in a different light completely. And I guess in the flag space, as we're starting to build up more coaches in this world, I think of great guys who are trying to do a lot of really, great things for the sport, whether you're in the state and you're talking about the Sauer sisters who are at Ottawa, and they're kind of changing that landscape. 4-time champions in terms of college flag football, or Matt Hernandez, who coaches for the 17U girls, who came over here to the UK and spoke this past summer. Rob Curran, who's doing a lot, just got his first time coaching for flag, coming from tackle. And then in Europe, you're coaching, you have your Dukes Institute, and you're coaching the coaches. So you've got people that are really invested in wanting to develop and get better.
Absolutely. And I think it's a good thing that people are giving the time to it. I think it's a very strange landscape, because if you look at tackle football or other mainstream sports, there's literally decades and decades of history and learning and that people have done. Whereas for a lot of there are conversations we have with some of the leaders in different countries, France, Australia, Japan, Germany, about how we're going to develop flag football and the tactical knowledge and the technical knowledge and what we're looking for in the athletes as you go through. It's a very exciting space, but it's not a space where there are lots of coaches just kind of hiding somewhere we need to find them. Actually, I think people have to be developed into that. So it's really good to be able to do that from the guys of the Institute. And I think I wrote a blog. Guys. I wrote a blog.
Congratulations.
We'll add. Can we add the link to this? No.
Talk to our editor.
Yes, as it is. Please, guys. Humble brag. No. But actually, it was at looking at the transition from playing to coaching, or being a player coach, because in a situation where there aren't enough of a thing, coaches in this case, it's important to start finding solutions to how we get people, into those positions. And I think you've been a player coach. Been a player coach?
No.
Never done a player. Never done.
No, I was actually going to ask you, which one do you think is more challenging? Do you think it's more challenging to step back and just be in the coaching role, or do you think it's more challenging to be able to flip between?
I'm going to let you answer that first.
Oh, okay. I think it is hard. I think being a player coach is hard no matter how you look at it, because ultimately if you're a starter as well and you're trying to coach up others, I think when it comes to coaching, the easiest way is to have defined roles, right? Yeah. So if you're able, so I was a player coach, it was so crazy. I was a player coach for Staffordshire Surge. I was coaching special teams, and then that's how I got involved in playing. I was started off as a coach, and they're like, "Oh, you play tackle, like just come play," and that's like the adult senior team that we have. And I was like, "Oh, okay," but you don't get to see it all. And same in flag, there's times where, okay, if I'm on defense, I'm not able to speak with offense about certain opportunities, and you're just kind of constantly catching your tail. And then I think you have to look at how do you put yourself in those situations. Again, if you guys are all starters, which you are, you're like, well, I'm still going to be starting, but let me coach you up at the same time. I just don't think you can do right by that role ultimately if you're not able to just separate them. And I think it's going to be better for everyone if you can just make that decision, because in flag it's been predominantly player coaches, right? We're helping each other get better.
Just players,
players.
Exactly. Yeah,
I mean, we Run the World last year in Ireland, and we were playing against some teams that were new or some players that were new, and we're opposition. And I'm playing against some of the girls, and I'm like, hey, if you do this will help you beat me. So you never stop giving back to the game ultimately, right? Because if we can help everyone get better, then the whole floor raises. And in flag right now, we talk about it so much in Europe, we don't have good enough competition to play against. If we want to play against the best, ultimately we have to go out to the States. You have to play people that are playing it on a regular basis. And, I really love that NFBO in China are trying to do a lot. They're trying to bring in US teams. They're trying to bring in other people to help raise their floor. But that's ultimately what you have to do. And I don't know how we do that without, raising everyone out or going to the States.
I think the player-coach situation is not always... I think it's it's not something that people really choose to do necessarily, or if you are choosing to do it, it's probably because the playing career is coming towards the end and you're making that transition. But it's not, I think you're right, I think it's not the ideal, but I think while we are in the situations that we're in, I don't think there's any other way. But I think, having said that, there are some great player coaches that we have coming through. I'll shout out Joe Cottrell from Cardiff Hurricanes. I've called him Boy Wonderful. He's not a boy anymore, definitely. But just as young, super intelligent mind, who then applies it to being a great quarterback for his team. But he's built programs over and over again, which is crazy for someone still so young. You have to have that mindset of being able to see the bigger picture, right, while still then playing your role within it. Probably easier as a quarterback. As a receiver, I found that the player coach role was easier for me to step into because I was kind of doing it as a captain anyway. It got harder, finding oxygen to tell someone to do something after whatever, but it's also because as a coach, it's not do what I do. It's this is what given your tools that you have and your, size, shape, speed, whatever, try this. This might be what works best for you. It's developing those eyes and that knowledge as a coach, and then trying to impart it whilst you're doing, what you're doing.
And I think terminology comes into that, right? So I'd imagine you'll have the same thing in terms of you play for a multitude of different teams. you're probably going to have different names for different things at different teams, all meaning the same thing. Same in flag. Some of the terminology is stolen from tackle. Some of it is just new. You know, that's a freedom of flag. You can kind of have fun with it and create your own stuff. I mean, how do you find just understanding terminology from each team you go to?
It can be really difficult, especially because a lot of the same terms mean the same thing. Like if I use an outside zone as the sort of like the...
What's that then?
Yeah, but you know, like depending on where you're going or where the ball's going, you've got outside zone, you've got a reach block, you've got a toss, you've got a stretch, and essentially they're all more or less doing the same thing. But if you're, you know, from my position as a left tackle, if you're going left, your technique on each one could be completely different. It could depend on, you know, where your hand placement is, where you're aiming for, who you're, you know, is someone helping you on that block, is someone pulling around to help with that block, and all of those variables mean that the terms that you use could be completely different. But then you also have to take into account when you're coaching that you could be coaching someone that's never played the sport before. So how do I explain a play that could be done 5 different ways? Because that's only the run side. What if it's like an RPO and you're not throwing, you know, you're not running the ball, you're throwing it.
Yaz is low-key flexing.
What? I know. We said terminology. I was like, I can do this bit. But like, it's then all of a sudden now you're back to the drawing board because you're like, how do I, you know, help a rookie to understand, you know, these formats and all this play without overloading them and confusing them, and then you've got to try and find like a term that, like a colloquial term that you could say, and then they get what you mean.
And is it, sorry, just to that point, and kind of taking the player coaching bit, are there themes or threads that tie good leaders, whether that is as a player coach, as a player, captaincy, etc., experienced player on a team, and then coaches, international coaches, national program coaches? Are there any threads that you would say tie, you know, we talked about different styles of coaching, fair enough, or different styles of leadership, but surely there are things in there that are the same?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to have a lot of our intangibles, right? Like, okay, well, what is your communication skills? Accountability. I want to play for somebody that's going to take ownership when they do something wrong or they do something, you know.
Coaches never do something wrong.
But that's, you know, whether I'm talking about NFL when I was with Buffalo and Coach McDermott and those guys to, you know, Jack Reed as our offensive coordinator for GB, you know, being able to admit that you are not human, I mean, that you are human and you're not, maybe you're not human. I am. You're human and you can make mistakes. I think that gets a lot of buy-in from somebody. And so, like, doing the right thing and that integrity piece, I think for me, those are things that make a great leader. And I'm willing to get behind somebody like that, you know, and I think those play a big role. I mean...
Yeah, I would agree. I think as well, when you said, you know, what qualities, you know, make a leader, or is there a thread that links them? There were 3 coaches that I thought of automatically. One was Chris, head coach of
Coach Stone?
Coach Stone. One was Dee, head coach of Warriors Women. And
Coach Williams.
Coach Williams, sorry. And the other one was Uncle Wayne. And I actually thought straight away my answer to your question was originally no. Because I couldn't actually think of something that, apart from the fact they're all head coaches or...
Titles.
Titles. That there wasn't anything I could think of. And actually maybe when you talk about the accountability, maybe and you said about them showing that they're human, I think maybe that's the part that makes you look at them as such a great leader. It's because they are human and you ultimately want to be your best self, I think, for those people, because they show you every time they show up to practice, every time they set drills, every time they send you a message to, you know, find out where you are or what you're doing or, you know, how they can help. And I think every time they just show that little bit of care, that little bit of human, you're like, actually, this is a person I'm going to put my body on the line for. This is a person that I'm going to, you know, try and catch the ball for. This is the person that I'm going to, you know, walk back to that line after 5 seconds and take my breath and snap the ball, you know, like this. It's those people. And I think maybe it's just showing that little bit of humanity and that little bit of like that constant sort of care for the sport and for you and for that development of that sport. Like they always want you to be better. They always want you to be greater. And I think that really links back to what you were saying. You know, we've got to coach everyone so that bottom line keeps continuing to be to be raised. Yeah.
It is interesting because actually a lot of people we're talking about right now are all men. Like I would say probably Coach Lowe, who I've been around while she's coaching. I've not been coached by her. Lori Locust with the Tennessee Titans. She's phenomenal. I know she came and taught D-line for GB. I don't know in the flag space who necessarily there is. There's Angelica Grayson, who's doing a great job in the States.
You mentioned the Sauer sister.
Yeah, MK Beulah, who's assistant to Matt Hernandez. You know, I think that's a big part of it is just the pipeline's not quite there. And I think as these things go, whether it's tackle or flag, so many of us don't start playing until later in life.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I was, 22, 23 when I started playing. How old were you when you started playing?
I was 20.
19. So because we don't start playing until later in life, a lot of us are like, I don't want to give this up. Like, I just started. Whereas I find in the States, it's kind of flipped a little bit because a lot of people grow up playing this sport. And I know for girls, it's just getting there. But you've got so much more experience, so you're like, oh, I can give back. Like Ashley Clam is coaching, which is super cool, you know, because
Is she 20 yet?
She's, yeah, you know, she's, and that's what we almost need to like make part of it is this like natural, you know, pipeline of, all right, more women, more men, but ultimately whoever's best for the job, because being a leader is not gender specific. Being a leader is just a really core quality, and I think that's what makes it so unique when you get to head coaching roles. I don't think you need to be great at the X's and O's to be a head coach. That's what you have your coordinators for. A head coach is someone that just needs to be able to lead ultimately.
And I think to that point, I think actually the more as the space grows and as people know, I think there are a fair few female coaches out there. Yes, it's developing, but I think also things like this where we're able to give them the platform and you know, raise their profiles a bit more, just to say, hey, like there's Coach Eleanor in Switzerland. You know, there's so many different people doing good work. Chris Gomez, probably the hardest hitting after you. Linebacker, and you know, for Spanish, you
played against her.
She coached she was coaching the under-17s flag team out in Spain. You know, there's a lot of people doing stuff, but I think we have to do kind of our job, or people have to take more responsibility of putting them on the stage and shining the light on them to say, hey, this is happening, because I think that makes it okay for
absolutely. I mean, going back to tackle, sorry. But, if we're talking uni ball, Georgia Teague is head coach of, I want to say it's Brighton.
Oh, you're going to be in so much trouble.
I know, so much trouble. She won an award at
the BAFTA convention.
Is it Bournemouth? Bournemouth? Is that?
No, I think it's Brighton.
I shot for it. I don't know.
I think it's Brighton.
Scorpions.
You're going to get in more trouble.
No, I got it right. Scorpions.
But like even things like that, you know, like the fact that she won an award is so amazing that she's getting that recognition, and it actually, hopefully, you know, there's so many other female coaches who are going in that direction that look at it and think, actually,
she's going to hate it. Robin Stewart, Bo. Up in Leeds, it's doing the same.
Doing the same, like really representing, and I think, you know, there's always the opportunity for it, I think, but like you said, we tend to get involved in it so much later, so it seems like we don't always hit those coaching roles as early as we'd like. Most people kind of hit them sort of later on. So.
But I think, and especially within flag, it's important to just make sure that, because everyone's in a space where they're learning, as long as I think the great leaders are going to come out of those who are willing to kind of say and accept that they don't know what they don't know. Thank you. You know, and that way we'll get to where everyone is then learning together, because I think that's where we're going to grow flag from. But
I agree, and I think we can all do a great job of learning from each other and ask as many questions. And if you guys at home have questions, please make sure to message us. And then if you know anybody that you want us to talk about, we would love to talk about them, get them on the show. We really appreciate you, so make sure you like, subscribe, click the bell. Our girl Yaz tells you every time. Get involved, and we'll see you next week.